doing this type of science, right? Like this channel right here. This is the type of stuff that I'm talking about. That's fake science. Let me show you something. Let's see if it play. It won't play, but this is the type of thing. If you ever seen this thing, I'll put it in the description. But basically, it concludes and says it uses this old science theory, and it's based on a lot of it was based on thought, and it's actually disproven that L3 was in Africa 100,000 years ago. We know that because there's been studies, for example, here at PebMed, or how you say that, by these different geneticists. This is what they concluded. Although fossil remains show that just basically talk about the modern human dispersals out of Africa into the Near East, let's say 100 to 30, 130 K, basically 1,000 years ago. Genetic evidence from basically different populations, to basically sum it up, suggests a non-African descent. Let me just jump down to this one right here. This one is just a little quote that I always talk about. As a study that came out of the oldest L3s found, is that L3 actually shows migration from Syria going down into the Gasulian culture, which is a culture in the Levant. It's actually very important. So this just talks about right here, just a little bit where it talks about L3, right? It says after 3 decades, right? Because it's been like 30 years since the eugenic idea of people coming out of Africa. After 3 decades of mtDNA studies on human evolution, the only, right? This was to talk about, this was very important when it talks about the main results, is the African origin of all extinct modern humans, right? In addition, a southern coastal route has been relentlessly imposed to explain the Eurasian colonization, right? That's very important because it talks about how L3 was actually a Eurasian lineage. And it talks about how old it was, right? Consistent with fossil records, we have dated it to 125 KYA, right? And it basically talks about at the end right there, you can see that mtDNA, mitochondria, basically, L3, matured, grew up, matured in Eurasia, and returned to Africa as basal L3. So that's why now you see it in Africa. It went from upper area of Syria and went down to the Gasulian culture, where we did find a fossil of the L3 in the Gasulian culture about 6,000, about 4,000 BC at that time, or 1,000 years ago. And remember, those dates are exaggerated, but these are fossils. Right? If you're gonna make a chart, make it true to science. Actually, make it true to science. If you're gonna say that science, at least make it true to science. If you're gonna use the eugenic science, or if you're gonna use the world science, at least use the updated world science. Use what actually people are talking about. And another thing in this video, he shows that here in this map, this goes to real fast. This was very important. A lot of times in the out of Africa idea, a lot of people, they want to hear that something was Africa, they want to make the species only in that. But right, what he does is he takes a species, that yellow, the yellow dot that's on here, he makes that species only in Africa. Like he never looked at the information, for example, at the museum at Australia. They talk about this certain species of human, right? They actually found that evidence, right? Fossil remains show that this species had expanded its range into southern Eurasia about 1,007,750,000 years ago. So there's a lot of, in fact, this is the stuff I'm talking about, that a lot of migrations are showing, or migrations are trying to show, is that people might have started outside of Africa. Like if we actually look at the fossils, right, we're in the 20s, right? Why are we using old information if we're in the 20s and there's information in the 20s that if you use it, it'll update understanding of what's going on. So here's something that updated 2020. Right here you see Australia, New Zealand, right? They talk about that species, right? They talk about the fossils and everything, what happened and where right? Because a lot of people, when you think of the African migration, all those things, there's a lot of theories versus fossils, right? Theories versus fossils, right? So that's what's important. So I just wanted to show that this is what it looks like when you have fake science, because that yellow dot, the yellow dot that he has there, this little yellow dot, his little yellow dot, that's the species that I'm talking about. That one, I don't know how you say it, Homo ergaster. That's basically important to understand. That's the one. That's the erect. We was talking about that before. How the Homo erectus was outside of Africa, and this would be the basically they would say parent of it, but they know that one also came out of Africa, which is also important to know that when you start looking at the older fossils, it'll start looking like actually stuff appeared outside of Africa. Because we was talking about another species that not a lot of people talk about, that I had put on my page in one of my descriptions. Let me just show that real fast. On the video we did, and let me show you something. I put this here because I know you're gonna always have some evolutionists with their own ideas. But if you see some of the finds that they have nowadays, the oldest fossil that they have of modern human is 7 million.2, and that's just talking like their scale, their time scale. But you can see right here, just to show that. You can see 7 million-year-old pre-human remains found in the Balkans. Now show me any other lineage of people in Africa that in the scientific scale that we can compare to this, right? This was in University of Toronto. They had brought out basically some humans, who they had and everything. Just understand that basically just letting you know that it's possible that a lot of times the theories don't match the fossils is what I'm saying. And we've been talking about it for a while, that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that the fossils actually paint a different picture than all that. But let me just summarize this like this. Back to this little video real fast. The reason why I'm here is because I'm just keeping watch on these things, these ancient things and whatnot. As I know you got your evolutionists idea. It just shows that a lot of their science and a lot of their ideas are just wrong. It's just wrong. So I just put this here as this little video was said, not real science, actually eugenics. Shalom.